Kuzuzampo, welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program with me, Sonampem. Our top stories this week. Their Majesties and Their Royal Highnesses, the Guests, visit the Namga Zone. The Home Minister appeals to the Supreme Court regarding his case of a false insurance claim. And Thimphu residents unconvinced with the BPC's explanation on high electricity bills. Now the details. His Majesty the King, accompanied by Her Majesty the Gelson, Their Royal Highnesses, Gese Jimmy Namgil and Gese Ugen Wangchuk, visited the Namga Zone on Wednesday. Their Majesties are on a royal tour of the Eastern Songkhak. Her Majesty Gyalum Sring Yangden Wangchuk, His Royal Highness Gesab Jimmy Doji Wangchuk and Ajay Solamo also accompanied Their Majesties.
To mark His Royal Highness Gelse Ugen Wangchuk's first visit to the Zong, the Zongkhak offered Kusungthugi Mende at the Zong. Earlier today, His Majesty granted an audience to the Mongar Zongkhak COVID-19 Task Force and received updates on the second lockdown. His Majesty thanked the task force for their work so far and encouraged them to continue working with the same level of commitment and dedication, reminding them that while the nationwide vaccination will have overall benefits, the pandemic is not yet over. While in Mongar, His Majesty also granted separate audiences to the faculty and students of the Gelpojing College of Information and Technology and visited the Kalapang Resa water project site and the Gelsung site. Meeting with the faculty and students of Gelpojing College, His Majesty spoke about the importance of preparing ourselves for a future that will be driven by technology. The college, His Majesty said, must play its part in shaping future generations who have the skills and capabilities to compete globally in the tech-driven economies of the future. His Majesty the King, accompanied by Her Majesty the Gelsin and His Royal Highness Getsab Jigme Doji, also visited the Kalapang Resa Desung National Service Water Project. Their Majesties visited the sites where the construction of water supply infrastructure is nearing completion and spent the evening with the Desups at their camp. 65 Desups are engaged at the project to augment drinking water supply and build infrastructure to improve irrigation for about 27 households. The Desups are supported by the RBA for the project implemented by the Ministry of Works and Human Settlement in collaboration with the Mongar Zongkhak administration. The people anticipate that improved irrigation will allow them to increase production of vegetables and enhance their income. His Majesty the King thanked the Desups who volunteered for the project for their invaluable service to the community and the country. Sonamongdi, BBS News.
The nationwide COVID-19 vaccination program kicked off on 27th March. Thousands of people queued up to get their first doses. The program was started with the first jab given to a 30-year-old woman in Thimphu born in the year of the monkey. The vaccine was also administered by a 30-year-old hospital nurse. The Prime Minister was the second person to get the jab.
1,000 butter lamps were lit at the Semdokhat zone to ensure that the vaccination program goes smoothly. Next, everyone gathered at the Lungten Zamba Middle Secondary School Vaccine Center. The whole country waited eagerly as the first recipient, Ninda Dema, would get vaccinated. The 30-year-old is an employee at the Economic Affairs Ministry. She was administered with the first jab of Covishield vaccine at 9:30 a.m. Facing east, she was vaccinated by nurse Sring Zangmo, who is also 30 years old, born in the year of the monkey. Around 15 minutes later, the Prime Minister was the second person to receive the jab. He did so from his quarantine center at Khasadabchu in Thimphu. Other people then started receiving their first doses of the Covishield vaccine. Meanwhile, thousands of people across the country were also vaccinated in their respective vaccination centers. Over 80,000 people were vaccinated across the country on the first day today. The highest was in Thimphu with over 17,000 vaccinations carried out. Around 530,000 people are expected to get vaccinated in the country. This is Sringdandu, BBS News.
The National Referral Hospital recently completed its first ever ACL reconstruction surgery. It is a service that was not previously available in the country. Anterior cruciate ligament or ACL reconstruction surgery is a procedure that doctors use to replace a torn ligament in the knee. Most commonly, a ligament is torn during sports that involve sudden stops and changes in direction, such as basketball, football, tennis, and volleyball. Anterior cruciate ligament or ACL is an important structure that helps the knee move. ACL injury makes the knee less stable.
So ACL reconstruction is a surgery. It's a keyhole surgery, which means the hole that we make to do the surgery is as big as just a keyhole. And then we put a scope, we call it cameras. So we put small cameras as big as 4 millimeter in diameter through 2 holes made through the skin to go there. And we visualize it with our computer. So what we do is we take a tendon from another part of his own body, patient's body. We harvest it and we put it inside to replace the ligament.
With the surgery now available at home, patients will no longer be referred to India.
This surgery is actually a technically demanding surgery and then a steep learning curve, which means difficult to learn. And that is the reason why this kind of surgeries are very expensive. So when we send our patient to India, they will incur the expenditure for the surgery, but also out of the pocket expenditure from the family who accompany them surgery. So it's a big burden. We can now save that money in our country. It's one more field of independence in the field of surgery in our country.
According to the Bhutan Football Federation, ACL injury is becoming common among footballers. 4 national players were sent to India for surgery last year. The federation spent some 200 to 300,000 Newton per person for the surgery. And as per the hospital's records, some 45 people are waiting for ACL reconstruction surgery. The hospital plans to conduct at least 1 surgery a week after the nationwide vaccination campaign. Sunampem for BBS News. The Home Minister Sharab Gelson, along with the former Executive Director and 3 officials of the RICBL, appealed to the Supreme Court on 29th March. The larger bench of the High Court convicted them for a false insurance claim. As per the court, the Home Minister falsely claimed insurance for his Toyota Prado in June 2016 from the insurance company, stating that the vehicle was damaged following an accident at Lamperi.
The Home Minister appealed on 3 grounds. First, the application for vehicle insurance after the accident and the claim for the payment were not false statements. As per the appeal letter, the insurance amount the RICBL released was in line with the estimate of the STCBL automobile workshop where the vehicle was repaired. Similarly, the letter stated the larger bench of the High Court misinterpreted the refilling of the vehicle's engine oil in Mongar as a leakage when in fact it had no connection with the accident. According to the appellant, the oil was refilled a month before the accident. The Home Minister also stated that he had an active comprehensive insurance scheme for his Prado before the accident occurred. The larger bench of the High Court had sentenced the minister to 2 months in prison for falsely claiming vehicle insurance worth over 200,000 Newton. Similarly, the former ED of the RICBL denied misusing his possession. Earlier, he was handed a 1-year prison term for misusing his possession and changing the Home Minister's vehicle insurance cover from a third party to a comprehensive. The other 3 RICBL officials involved in the case also appealed, saying they worked as per the rules. They said they neither committed any corruption nor worked for personal gains. They were sentenced to prison terms ranging from 1 month to 6 months. Kiladim for BBS News.
The Anti-Corruption Commission is looking to rediscuss a case of encroachment on state land with the Office of the Attorney General. The case involving the former Finance Minister Namga Dorji was forwarded to the OAG in 2019. The OAG, however, dropped the case last year after carrying out their investigation.
According to the Anti-Corruption Commission, Namga Dorji allegedly converted a 10-decimal government land as private under his own name in 2001. The ACC found that the 10-decimal land at Taba under Plot 164 was once recorded as government land and at another time as land without trump. According to ACC's investigation, the former minister had identified the state land as his own during the new Satham compilation survey in 2000. Namga Dorji had portrayed it as a piece of land he had received from his sister Lekhi Wangmo. It was part of a 20-decimal land bearing plot number 166 purchased from Ambakum in 1987. As per the Commission, a detailed survey in 1988, however, showed that the two plots were completely different. Namga Dorji also processed a no-obligation letter from residents in Taba stating that Lekhi Wangmo's 7-decimal land identified as Plot 164 is registered as ancestral land. The OAG, however, dropped the case. OAG, after consulting the Land Commission, concluded that Plot 164 was never a state land or vacant land without trump as ascertained by the ACC. The separation of the 7-decimal land from the 20-decimal land and change in the shape of the land was due to the demarcation of an access road between the two plots. However, ACC in a letter to the OAG later claimed the conclusion that Plot 164 was never a state land is based only on the Land Commission's assessment. The Commission also mentioned about Lekhi Wangmo admitting to having known that Plot 164 was a state land through one of the residents. There was also no evidence of how Lekhi Wangmo's 7-decimal land was measured in Plot 164 during the 2001 NSC survey. As per ACC, the OAG has not referred to the witnesses and corroborative facts submitted to the office. The ACC during its investigation also found out that the authenticity of the no objection certificate is questionable. Kiladim for BBS News.
More than 1,500 registered voters from 3 Thomde of Gelifu, Phinsoling and Thimphu will vote through postal ballots during the upcoming Thomde elections. Unlike in the past, this time the Election Commission has left the voting option open for all. This is to avoid the movement of people amid the pandemic.
Thimphu Thomde has the highest number of voters registered for postal ballot with almost 850 of them. This translates to 10% of the total eligible registered voters in the Thomde. Similarly, Gelifu Thomde has over 460 voters registered for postal ballot, while Phinsoling Thomde has 230. According to the ECB, compared to past trends, the number of postal ballot voters increased this time.
Earlier, for someone to be eligible for a postal ballot, there were certain criteria. The facility was limited to civil servants, armed forces, students and trainees among others. But now, if a business person who is an eligible voter of Thimphu Thomde is in Punakha, he can vote from there. However, the person has to be a registered voter.
The Commission is also initiating mobile postal ballots for voters aged 65 and above and those with disability. A little more than 470 voters from the 3 Thomde registered for the mobile service.
Globally, health experts say elderly people above the age of 60 are at more risk of contracting COVID-19. Therefore, we contacted all those eligible voters above the age of 65 and informed them that we will visit their place to collect the votes. However, some of them said they are healthy enough to visit a polling station.
Meanwhile, the total number of registered postal ballot voters also includes over 200 Bhutanese living overseas. Of them, Australia has the highest, followed by India and the US. As per the ECB's electoral roll, there are more than 10,400 registered voters for the third Thomde elections. The poll day is on 28th April. Kilidem for BBS News.
The government's ginger buyback scheme has received an overwhelming response from the farmers in Dorokha. They sent around 6 truckloads of the crop through the scheme recently. The buyback scheme was initiated considering the poor market for ginger due to the pandemic.
The regular market price for ginger is at an all-time low. Some farmers had to sell their ginger harvest at a meager 17 Newton per kilogram. But through the scheme, the Food Corporation of Bhutan bought palm-sized gingers for 45 Newton a kilogram. Similarly, smaller-sized gingers and those grown in black soil were purchased at 35 and 20 Newton respectively. It has really been a mad rush and a long wait for the farmers to sell off their gingers. One of them brought in over 100 sacks of ginger, and with just 2 weighing machines here, it takes a lot of time. But despite the long wait, farmers are happy that they are able to sell off their ginger amidst the uncertainties of the pandemic.
We were concerned about selling our ginger amid the pandemic. Now we are happy the government is taking our produce. If we are to sell it directly to exporters, we get only about 10, 12 or 17 Newton per kilogram. Here, we are happy with the rate we get.
When we exported directly to India, there were 2 grading for the crop and not 3. And so, most people are not happy when the crop is categorized into 3 types. But it is okay. The grading system won't incur much loss.
But farmers were not happy about the deduction of 2 kilograms from each sack. The FCV officials said the deduction is to compensate for the weight of packing material, soil traces and weight loss.
They were deducting 2 kilograms per sack, and we are not happy about it. If we sell 40 sacks, then we are losing 80 kilograms, and that is a lot for us.
It would have been okay if it was on MON system, but it applies directly to a sack. Some sacks will be small, so reducing 2 kilograms is a loss. A MON is equal to 40 kilograms. So to deduct a kilogram per MON is acceptable since there will be mud and pebbles with the load. But some sacks will be 20 kgs and some 30 kgs, so if 2 kilograms are directly deducted, it will be a loss for us.
If they deduct it from the bigger sacks, it is fine. We have been doing that in the past. But we are incurring a loss on the smaller sacks. If it takes about 5 sacks to make 100 kilograms, we are losing about 10 kilograms.
According to the Drungkhak administration, the buyback scheme came at the right time since farmers would not sell their gingers at the current market price.
They have a practice of burying ginger with soil to preserve it. That way, gingers can be preserved for up to 2 years. We tell them it's better to sell than letting it rot, but the market price is about 10 to 12 Newton. So apart from a few who need money, most prefer to bury their ginger than sell it.
Many farmers in Dorokha switched to ginger as their cash crop after cardamom prices came down drastically in the last few years. Namga Dorji, BBS News, Samtsi.
Why is my electricity bill so high? Many Thimphu residents are still asking this question to the Bhutan Power Corporation. People were shocked to receive their power bills after the second lockdown. They feel the justification and clarification provided by the corporation didn't quite resolve the issue. People said, except for verbal and written explanation, the huge amount due was not negotiated as expected.
The Bhutan Power Corporation opened this center on 26th February exclusively to entertain complaints about the high bill. About 100 people come here every day with their grievances. The corporation collected over 600 bills till date.
Gebja gubja chamchi trebi winter nae te dato ani bioda di tonra sum chulha betheno no te ngaji pe chamatan di ka de na hai me go session
the lockdown ge hamadi the summer beru winter beru ngaji ge dawrilu te ngabjale ya ta di geji beru dinja sinse themi te dangja lockdown ge terminal le ya ta di nale de shungri di bbc da shungi bioda di te mata di phabni yese sunde kongi di te dari bioda di dangaje di darim신도 똥털에 야다데 텐 때나 최다바 온디 베더 데 컴플레인 잡디 베레야 데 해마기 가좀 베더 답고 세 땡아제기 날로데 팝차 메세 공기 데베랄라메.
The Bhutan Power Corporation said they issued letters to about 46,000 clients in Thimphu.
So we have looked at their consumption pattern one by one. So in lieu of the bill, so we have issued one letter to each of the customers. So in that it clearly explains what was your consumption pattern, how you would have been billed in the event the bill reading has taken place at a regular interval.
Some requested to check their meters, but the office found nothing wrong with the meters.
If the customers are unable to pay, we will also offer them the installment payment basis also we have provided, and we have also clearly stated that the penalty will be waived off. There is no need for the customers to pay the bill. We have also said that in the event the customer is still not satisfied with the explanation that we are providing, so we have set up a dedicated a complaint center.
They said high consumption and average billing system caused high electricity bills. Earlier, the BPC said since meter readers could not move around during the lockdown, they had to implement an average billing system. It was also implemented during the first lockdown in August. The average billing system is the billing based on the average consumption of the last 3 months. They took the average energy consumption of September, October and November. The corporation urges people to visit the office to correct the bills and avoid paying the late penalty reflected on the bills for January, February and March. Namga Dorji for BBS News.
A video of a little Bhutanese girl thanking the government of India for the COVID-19 vaccine is winning hearts not just in the country but in India as well. The heartwarming video, which has gone viral on social media, features an upcoming Bhutanese child artist, Khenrap Yudin Selden, who is popular for her social media page, Khenrap Tales.
Namaste, I'm from Bhutan and my name is Khenrap Yudin Selden. I would like to thank the Indian government for giving us a huge number of COVID-19 vaccines. We Bhutanese are so lucky to have India as our neighboring country, and thank you for the donation. हम सभी Bhutanese की तरफ से शुक्रिया करना चाहते हैं. शुक्रिया भारत.
First shared on 26th March, the 37-second long video garnered nearly 15,000 views and numerous reactions from netizens so far. Many mainstream Indian media, including the Hindustan Times and the Times of India, also covered the video message as the Indian ambassador to Bhutan, Ruchira Kamboj, shared the content on Twitter. The caption read, "Khenrap, your thank you touches our hearts." And this evening, as an appreciation, the Indian ambassador met with Khenrap Yudin Selden and presented her with a certificate, a smartphone and a gift hamper. Just 6 years old, Khenrap is already quite popular for her adorable and informative videos on social media. As of now, the Class 1 student has over 40,000 followers on her Facebook page.
Viral job nam some guy certificate and gift stop nam some guy la Indian government ki ngachilo and COVID-19 vaccine ki khap jindagi nam some guy.
At a very young age, Khenrap has become an icon of the Indo-Bhutan friendship. Her simple yet unique contribution through the video has further strengthened the friendship at a people-to-people level. This is Bhutan Dorji for BBS News.
That's all for this week. Thank you for joining us.